World War II, the bloodiest conflict in human history. Over 70 million lives lost, nations torn apart, and a world forever changed. But behind the battles and leaders we all know, Hitler, Churchill, Roosevelt, Stalin, there are untold stories. Stories of forgotten soldiers, silent resistance fighters, ordinary families, and even voices from the enemy's side that history books rarely mention. Today, we journey into the true story of World War II, untold stories from both sides. The war didn't begin in 1939. The seeds were planted much earlier. After World War I, Germany was humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, forced into crushing debt. Many Germans felt betrayed and desperate. Across the world, Japan was also rising, hungry for resources. It saw itself as destined to dominate Asia. Italy, under Mussolini, dreamed of reviving the Roman Empire. For ordinary people, these ambitions meant hunger, fear, and propaganda. In Germany, some citizens resisted Nazi rule as early as 1933. Like the White Rose movement, young students who risked execution to distribute anti-Hitler leaflets. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, Britain and France declared war. Blitzkrieg, lightning war, took Europe by storm. But the other side of the story? Many German soldiers weren't brainwashed Nazis. They were farmers and students, forced into battle. Some kept diaries filled with guilt and fear. In Britain, civilians lived through the Blitz. Londoners spent nights in underground stations, singing songs to drown out the sound of bombs. In Poland, not only Jews suffered. Millions of Polish Catholics, teachers, and intellectuals were executed or sent to concentration camps. When Hitler turned against his former ally, Stalin, the Eastern Front became hell on earth. The siege of Leningrad lasted 872 days. Civilians starved so badly, they boiled wallpaper paste to survive. Soviet soldiers were ordered not to retreat. Those who did were executed by their own commanders. On the other side, German troops froze to death at Stalingrad. A German nurse wrote of trying to save wounded soldiers in minus 40 degrees Celsius, using vodka as both medicine and heat source. Meanwhile, Soviet women snipers became legendary, with some recording over 300 confirmed kills. In Asia, Japan's war was equally brutal. The Nanjing Massacre left over 200,000 dead. Prisoners of war were starved, beaten, or worked to death building railways. But on the other side, Japanese civilians also paid the price. The firebombing of Tokyo in 1945 killed more people in one night than the atomic bombs of Hiroshima or Nagasaki. In Okinawa, thousands of Japanese civilians, encouraged by propaganda, jumped off cliffs, choosing suicide over capture by American forces. Across Europe, resistance movements risked everything. In France, the resistance smuggled messages in loaves of bread. In Yugoslavia, partisans fought entire German divisions with little more than rifles. But betrayal was everywhere. Nazi collaborators informed on neighbors for money or safety. Some resistance fighters were executed by people they trusted. In Denmark, fishermen smuggled nearly 7,000 Jews to safety in Sweden, saving almost the entire Jewish population. 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, Roma, disabled people, political prisoners, were murdered in concentration camps. But beyond the horror, there were also moments of courage. Some Germans, like industrialist Oskar Schindler, risked everything to protect Jews. In Auschwitz, prisoners secretly wrote diaries and buried them, so the world would know the truth. By 1945, the Axis powers collapsed. Hitler died in his bunker. Mussolini was executed by his own people. Japan surrendered after the atomic bombs. But the human cost was unimaginable. Millions of displaced families wandered ruined Europe. In Japan, survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki lived with radiation scars for generations. German civilians who had supported the war now faced starvation. Children were sent to pick through rubble for food. Soviet prisoners of war returning home were often accused of treason and sent to gulags. World War II was supposed to be the war to end all wars. Yet the Cold War followed almost immediately. Nations vowed never again, but genocide and oppression still scar our world today. The untold stories remind us war is not just about generals and battles. It's about human beings on both sides, caught in a storm they did not create. If you learned something new today, don't let these stories be forgotten. Share this video, subscribe, and join me as we uncover more hidden chapters of history. History isn't just in textbooks. It's in the voices of those who lived it,